The sun rises a little higher. Its light spreads slowly across the fields, touching the surface of the soil, warming it piece by piece. The soft coolness of early morning begins to fade. The air grows heavier, though still gentle for now. The farmer keeps working. His movements do not change. The rhythm remains the same. Lift. Press. Pull. A quiet pattern repeated without thought. The body remembers what it must do, even when the mind drifts somewhere softer, somewhere distant. Around him, others have arrived. Not all at once. Not with noise. They appear slowly, like shadows becoming visible in the growing light. Another farmer in the next field. A woman carrying a small bundle of tools. A child walking beside an older man, still learning the shape of the work. No one speaks much. There are no long conversations. Only small sounds. A soft greeting. A nod. The faint scrape of wood against soil. The distant call of birds circling above the river. Time moves quietly here. It does not rush forward. It stretches. It settles into the repetition of small actions, each one blending into the next. Minutes become difficult to notice. Hours pass without announcement. The farmer pauses for a moment. Not because the work is done, but because the body asks for a brief rest. He straightens his back slowly. There is a dull ache there, familiar and constant. It has been there for many years, growing slowly, never leaving. He looks out across the land. The river glimmers in the distance, its surface now bright with sunlight. It moves as it always does, steady and calm, carrying water from faraway places to this narrow strip of fertile ground. Without the river, there would be nothing here. No fields. No crops. No village. Everything depends on its quiet, reliable presence. The farmer knows this, though he does not think about it in words. It is something understood deep within him, like the feeling of hunger or the need for sleep. He bends down again. The work continues. The soil shifts under his tool, breaking apart, turning over, preparing itself for what will come next. Each small section must be handled with care. There is no machine to do it faster. No way to skip ahead. Only hands. Only time. The sun climbs higher. The light becomes stronger now. The shadows grow thinner. The air begins to press down more heavily, carrying the first real weight of the day's heat. Sweat runs more freely. It traces slow paths down his face, along his arms, across his back. It soaks into the cloth at his waist. It stings slightly in small cuts and rough places on his skin. Still, he does not stop. Nearby, a pair of oxen move slowly across another field. Their steps are steady, guided by a farmer holding a simple plow. The animals breathe heavily, their sides rising and falling in a slow rhythm. The wooden plow cuts shallow lines into the earth behind them. The sound is soft. A quiet scraping. A steady movement. Nothing sharp. Nothing sudden. Everything here feels worn, familiar, and slow. The farmer glances at them briefly. Then returns to his own work. Each person has their own section of land, their own responsibilities. The work may look the same, but it belongs to each pair of hands that tends it. The morning continues. The sky is now fully bright, a pale blue stretching endlessly above. There are no clouds to soften the sun. No shade in the open fields. Only the wide expanse of light and heat. The farmer's breathing deepens. Not from hurry, but from effort. The body works steadily, and the air moves in and out, slow and measured. There is no need to rush the breath. The work will not end sooner. A small breeze passes through. It offers a brief moment of relief. It moves across the skin, lifting the heat just slightly. It carries the faint scent of wet earth and growing plants. Then it fades. The heat returns. Time continues to stretch. At some point, though it is hard to say exactly when, the farmer stops again. This time, he lowers himself to sit on the ground. The soil is warm now, no longer cool as it was at dawn. He reaches for a small clay jar. Inside is water. Not cold, but still refreshing. He lifts it slowly and drinks. The water moves over his tongue, down his throat, easing the dryness that has begun to settle there. He does not drink too much. There must be enough to last. When he is finished, he sets the jar back down carefully. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is taken for granted. For a moment, he simply sits. The world around him continues. Others are still working. The oxen still move. The river still flows in the distance. But here, in this small space, there is a brief pause. It does not last long. He rises again. The work calls him back, not loudly, but steadily. It is always there, waiting, patient and unchanging. He picks up his tool and begins again. The same motion. The same rhythm. The same quiet, endless effort. Under the growing heat of the sun, the tool sinks into the soil once more. The farmer's hands guide it without hesitation. There is no need to think about each movement. The body has learned this work over many seasons, over many years. It moves with a quiet certainty, shaped by repetition. The sun rises higher still. Now it stands well above the horizon, no longer soft or gentle. Its warmth has turned into something heavier. It presses down on the land, on the fields, on every person working beneath it. The air feels thicker. Breathing remains steady, but each breath carries a hint of heat. The coolness of morning is now only a memory, fading slowly into the past. The farmer continues. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm does not break. Around him, the fields are alive with the same quiet motion. Every person bends and rises, like a slow wave moving across the land. No one rushes. No one stops for long. This is simply how the day unfolds. In the distance, closer to the river's edge, a narrow channel of water winds its way toward the fields. It has been guided there by careful hands, shaped over time to bring life where it is needed. Water moves slowly through it. It does not rush. It does not spill wildly. It follows its path with patience, soaking gently into the soil, giving just enough moisture for the crops to grow. The farmer glances toward it. Soon, he will need to tend to that as well. The flow must be watched. The small openings in the earth must be adjusted. Too much water can harm the plants. Too little can leave them dry and weak. Balance is everything. But for now, the soil before him still needs to be turned. He continues. The sound of work blends together into a quiet harmony. The scrape of wood. The soft shifting of dirt. The low breath of oxen. The distant murmur of the river. There is no silence, but there is peace. The kind of peace that comes not from stillness, but from steadiness. Time moves forward, though it is difficult to measure. The sun climbs slowly, almost unnoticed, until it reaches a place high above. Shadows shrink beneath the feet. The light becomes direct, strong, unbroken. This is the hardest part of the day. The heat settles fully now. It rests on the shoulders. It presses against the skin. It seeps into the ground, rising back up in a quiet wave that surrounds everything. The farmer feels it. In his arms. In his back. In the steady rhythm of his breath. Sweat falls more often now, dropping into the soil below, disappearing without a trace. Still, the work does not stop. It cannot stop. There is too much to be done, and too little time to do it. The seasons will not wait. The river will not pause. The crops will not grow on their own. Everything depends on these hours. The farmer shifts slightly. Not to rest, but to ease the strain. His hands adjust their grip. His stance changes just enough to continue without breaking the rhythm. These small adjustments matter. They allow the work to go on. Nearby, a child watches. He is not working yet, not fully. His hands are small, his movements uncertain. But he stands close, observing. Learning without being told. Seeing how the tool is held, how the soil is turned, how the body moves. This is how knowledge passes. Not through long instruction, but through quiet example. One day, he will take his place in the field. One day, this rhythm will belong to him. The farmer does not look up, but he knows the child is there. There is no need to say anything. The work itself teaches all that needs to be known. The hours continue to stretch. At times, the mind drifts. Not far. Not into dreams or distant thoughts. Just a gentle wandering, a soft loosening of focus. The body continues, steady and sure, even as the mind rests in small, quiet spaces. This is how the long day is carried. Not by force, but by acceptance. The farmer reaches the edge of his section. He pauses. The soil here is slightly different. A bit firmer. A bit drier. It will need more care, more attention. He adjusts his approach. The tool presses a little deeper. The movement slows slightly. Each section is treated as it needs to be, guided by the feel of the earth itself. There is no rushing through this. The land decides the pace. A bird calls out overhead. Its voice is clear, cutting gently through the steady background of work. It circles once, then moves on, disappearing into the wide, open sky. The farmer does not follow it with his eyes. He remains focused on the ground before him. Always the ground. Always the work. At last, another pause comes. This one is longer. Not by much, but enough to matter. The farmer steps toward the narrow water channel. He crouches beside it, watching the slow movement of water as it slips along its path. He reaches down. His hand touches the flow, cool against his skin. He adjusts a small ridge of earth, pressing it gently to guide the water slightly more toward one side of the field. It is a small change, but it will make a difference. This is how the land is cared for. Not through large actions, but through many small ones, repeated again and again. He watches for a moment longer. The water responds. It shifts slightly, spreading more evenly across the soil. Satisfied, he stands. And once again, he returns to his place. The tool in his hands. The soil beneath his feet. The sun above, now high and unrelenting. The day continues, steady and unbroken. And the work goes on. The sun stands high in the sky now. It does not move quickly, yet its presence feels constant, heavy, and close. The light falls straight down, leaving very little shadow to hide in. The land appears almost still beneath it, as if everything has settled into the quiet weight of midday. The farmer keeps working. His movements are slower now, though not by much. The rhythm continues, but each motion carries a little more effort. The soil has grown warmer beneath his hands. The air presses closer against his skin. Lift. Press. Pull. The pattern remains. Around him, others continue as well. No one has left the fields. No one has sought shelter. The work holds them here, gently but firmly, like the steady current of the river. There is no thought of stopping yet. Not until the body demands it. Not until the moment comes when even the quiet strength of habit begins to soften. The farmer pauses. This time, he does not sit right away. He stands still for a moment, letting the tool rest against the ground. His shoulders rise and fall with a deeper breath. The air is warm as it enters him, warm as it leaves. He looks across the field again. The land shimmers slightly in the heat. The distant edge of the river blurs for a moment, as if softened by the light. The sky above remains clear, wide, and endless. There is no change in it. No sign of relief. Only the steady presence of the sun. At last, he lowers himself to the ground. This pause is different. It carries a quiet understanding that the body needs time. Not much, but enough to continue. He sits with his legs drawn in slightly, his hands resting loosely on his knees. The soil beneath him feels hot now. But it is familiar. Everything here is familiar. He reaches again for his jar of water. The clay is warm to the touch. The water inside is no longer cool, yet it still offers comfort. He drinks slowly, taking small amounts, letting each one settle. Nearby, others have also paused. A few sit as he does, resting quietly. Some remain standing, leaning slightly on their tools. No one speaks loudly. The silence is shared, understood. This is the middle of the day. the moment when everything slows just enough to endure the hours ahead. A faint breeze moves across the fields. It is not strong, but it is enough to stir the air. It brushes against the skin, carrying with it the scent of water and distant greenery. For a brief moment, the heat feels less heavy. The farmer closes his eyes. Not to sleep, but to rest them from the brightness. The light behind his eyelids glows softly, a warm red that fades in and out with each slow breath. Time passes. It is difficult to measure how long. There are no shadows to track. No clear change in the sky. Only the quiet sense of moments slipping gently by. At last, he opens his eyes again. The light is the same. The heat is the same. The work remains. He rises slowly. There is a slight stiffness now, a heaviness in his limbs that was not there in the early morning. It settles into his movements, making each action feel just a little more deliberate. But still, he continues. He returns to his place in the field. The tool feels familiar in his hands. Its weight is unchanged, yet it seems heavier now, shaped by the long hours already past. He begins again. Lift. Press. Pull. The soil breaks apart once more. The pattern returns. The rhythm resumes. The afternoon stretches ahead. It will be long. It will feel longer than the morning, though the hours are no different. The body simply feels them more deeply now, more fully. The farmer does not think about how much remains. He does not measure the day. He only follows it. One movement at a time. One small section of soil after another. Nearby, the oxen continue their slow path. Their pace has not changed. Their steady strength carries on without question. The farmer guiding them walks beside them, his steps even, his posture quiet and patient. Everything moves together. Not quickly. Not slowly. Just steadily. The sound of the river drifts faintly through the air. It is easy to forget it is there, yet it never leaves. It continues its quiet journey, just as the farmers continue theirs. The land and the people remain connected in this way. One cannot exist without the other. The farmer reaches another small boundary in his field. He pauses again, only briefly this time. His eyes move across the ground, checking what has been done, what still remains. There is always more to do. There is always another section waiting. He does not feel frustration. He does not feel urgency. Only the quiet acceptance of what the day asks of him. He adjusts his grip once more. And continues. The sun begins, very slowly, to move beyond its highest point. It is almost impossible to notice at first. The change is gentle, gradual, like the slow turning of a wheel. But it is there. The afternoon has begun. And still, the work goes on. The afternoon settles gently over the land. At first, it feels no different from midday. The heat remains, steady and close. The light is still bright, though something about it begins to soften in a way that is almost too subtle to notice. The farmer continues his work. His movements are slower now, but they have not lost their shape. The rhythm still carries him forward, even as his body grows heavier with each passing hour. Lift. Press. Pull. The soil yields beneath the tool. Each small section turned, each line prepared, each motion blending quietly into the next. There is no clear beginning. No clear end. Only the steady unfolding of effort. The air shifts slightly. It is still warm, but no longer as sharp as before. The weight of the sun begins to ease, just a little, as it moves slowly across the sky. Shadows begin to return, faint at first, stretching softly along the ground. The farmer notices this, though only in passing. He does not stop to reflect on it. But his body feels it. A small, quiet relief. Nearby, the child who had been watching earlier now moves closer to the field. He crouches near the edge, his hands touching the soil, pressing it gently as if trying to understand its texture. The farmer glances toward him for a brief moment. There is no interruption in his work. But there is an awareness. A quiet recognition that this, too, is part of the day. Part of the life. The child lifts a small clump of earth. It breaks apart easily in his hands, crumbling into fine grains. He watches it fall, his eyes following the movement closely. The farmer returns his gaze to the ground before him. There is always something to tend. The water channel nearby continues its slow, careful flow. The adjustments made earlier hold steady. The moisture spreads gently through the soil, reaching the roots below. Everything depends on this balance. Too much. Too little. The difference is small, but it matters. The farmer steps toward the channel once more. He crouches again, his movements deliberate, his attention focused. His hand shapes the edge of the earth, pressing it slightly, guiding the water just enough to keep its path even. The soil is softer here. Darker. It holds the memory of the river within it. He watches for a moment. The water responds. It always does. Satisfied, he stands again, though more slowly this time. The weight of the day rests more heavily on his body now. His back feels tighter. His arms carry a deeper fatigue. His steps are steady, but they are no longer as light as they were in the early morning. Still, he returns to his work. There is no thought of stopping yet. Not while there is still light. Not while there is still something left undone. The fields remain quiet. Not silent, but calm. The soft sounds of work continue. The low breath of oxen. The gentle shifting of soil. The faint movement of water. Above, a bird glides across the sky. Its wings move slowly, catching the air without effort. It circles once, then drifts farther away, becoming smaller against the pale blue. The farmer does not follow it. His attention remains on the ground. Always the ground. Always the task before him. Time stretches again. The afternoon unfolds in the same steady way as the morning, though the body feels each moment more deeply now. Each movement carries a trace of weariness, a quiet reminder of the hours already past. And yet, the rhythm continues. Lift. Press. Pull. The soil turns. The lines form. The work progresses, one small piece at a time. The shadows grow longer. At first, they are soft and faint, barely noticeable against the brightness. But slowly, almost quietly, they begin to stretch. They reach across the field, marking the slow passage of the sun. The light changes. It becomes warmer, less harsh. The air follows. The heat begins to loosen its hold, giving way to a gentler warmth that rests more lightly on the skin. The farmer feels this. A quiet easing. Not enough to bring rest, but enough to carry him forward a little longer. He pauses again. This time, he remains standing, leaning slightly on his tool. His gaze moves across the field, taking in what has been done. There is more now. More turned soil. More prepared ground. But still, there is always something left. He does not measure it. He does not count. He simply accepts it. Nearby, others begin to slow as well. Not stopping, not yet. But their movements grow more measured, more deliberate, shaped by the same quiet fatigue. The day is beginning to close. Slowly. Gently. Without announcement. The farmer straightens. He takes one deeper breath. Then another. The air feels different now. Softer. Easier. He lowers his gaze once more. And returns to the work. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm continues. As it always does. As it always will. The sun drifts lower in the sky. And the long day moves, step by quiet step, toward its end. The sun lowers a little more. Its light softens as it moves closer to the horizon, turning from bright white into a warmer shade of gold. The fields begin to glow in a quiet, gentle way, as if the land itself is slowly exhaling after the long heat of the day. The farmer continues his work. But now, there is a subtle change. Each movement carries the sense that the day is nearing its end. Not finished, not yet, but moving steadily in that direction. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm remains, though it has slowed. The soil beneath his hands feels different now. It has cooled slightly, no longer holding the full intensity of the midday sun. The air, too, has shifted. It brushes against his skin with a softer touch. A quiet relief spreads through his body. Not enough to erase the fatigue, but enough to make it easier to continue. Around him, the others feel it as well. The fields move more slowly now. The steady wave of bending and rising becomes more spaced, more deliberate. There is no rush to finish quickly. Only the quiet understanding that the light will fade when it chooses. And when it does, the work will stop. For today. The farmer reaches another edge of his field. He pauses. This time, the pause lingers a little longer. He looks across the ground he has worked. The turned soil lies in soft lines, uneven in places, but ready. Ready for what will come next. Ready for the slow process that will follow in the days ahead. He does not feel pride. He does not feel disappointment. Only a quiet acknowledgement. It is enough for now. He steps back slightly. His hands rest on the top of his tool. His shoulders lower as he takes a slow breath. The air feels lighter than it has all day. The scent of earth is stronger now, rising gently as the heat fades. In the distance, the river reflects the changing sky. Its surface holds the golden light, broken only by small ripples that move across it. It continues its steady path, untouched by the efforts of the day. Always moving. Always the same. The farmer watches it for a moment. Not with deep thought. Just with quiet awareness. Then, slowly, he returns to his work one last time. Lift. Press. Pull. The final movements of the day. Each one slower than the last. Each one carrying the weight of the hours behind it. Nearby, the oxen begin to turn. Their path across the field comes to a natural end. The farmer guiding them gently leads them away, their heavy steps pressing into the soft earth as they move. Others begin to gather their tools. Not all at once. One by one. A quiet shift spreads across the fields as the work begins to settle. The farmer continues a little longer. Just a few more motions. Just a little more ground. Then, at last, he stops. There is no signal. No sound that marks the moment. Only the quiet decision, felt rather than spoken. He lowers his tool. His hands release it slowly, as if they are not yet ready to let go. The familiar weight leaves his grip, and for a moment, his arms feel strangely light. He straightens. His back carries the memory of the day's labor. A deep, steady ache rests there, not sharp, not sudden, but constant. It has become part of him. He lifts his gaze. The sky has changed. The gold has deepened, spreading across the horizon in soft layers. The light stretches long across the land, casting shadows that reach far beyond their source. The heat is fading now. In its place, a gentle coolness begins to return. The farmer takes a step back from the field. Then another. His movements are slower now, no longer shaped by the rhythm of work, but by the quiet release from it. Around him, others are doing the same. Tools are lifted, carried, rested against shoulders. No one speaks loudly. There is no need. The day has taken most of their energy, leaving only a calm silence behind. The farmer begins the walk back. The path is the same as it was in the morning. Worn. Familiar. Each step feels heavier now, not from difficulty, but from the long hours that came before. The ground beneath his feet still holds a trace of warmth, though it fades with each passing moment. The village waits ahead. Small shapes of mud brick homes sit quietly in the distance, touched by the last light of the sun. Thin trails of smoke rise from a few of them, drifting slowly into the evening air. Life continues there as well. In its own quiet rhythm. The farmer walks toward it. Not quickly. Not slowly. Just steadily. Behind him, the fields remain. Still. Prepared. Waiting. The day's work rests there, silent and unfinished, as it always is. There will be more tomorrow. There is always more tomorrow. But for now, the light continues to fade. And the long day begins, gently, to come to its end. The sun drifts closer to the horizon. Its light grows softer with each passing moment, spreading across the land in long, quiet bands of gold and amber. The sharp brightness of the day has faded. In its place, a gentle glow rests over the fields and the distant river. The farmer walks slowly along the worn path. Each step feels steady, though his body carries the full weight of the day. The rhythm of work has left his muscles heavy, his movements more deliberate now. There is no need to hurry. There is nowhere else he must be. The air cools gradually. It brushes against his skin with a softness that feels almost unfamiliar after the long heat. The scent of earth becomes richer, deeper, as the warmth lifts from the ground. Behind him, the fields grow quiet. The last movements of the day have faded. The soft sounds of tools and footsteps have given way to stillness. Only the faint murmur of the river remains, constant and low in the distance. Ahead, the village becomes clearer. The shapes of the homes are simple and close together, their mud brick walls holding the last light of the sun. The narrow spaces between them are already filling with shadow. A thin line of smoke rises from one roof. Then another. Small fires are being lit. The farmer continues forward. His hands hang loosely at his sides now, no longer gripping the tool. It rests across his shoulder, its familiar weight still present, though no longer demanding effort. As he nears the village, the sounds begin to return. Soft voices. Low and steady. The quiet movements of others who have also returned from the fields. A door opens. Footsteps pass over packed earth. A faint clink of clay against clay. Nothing loud. Nothing sudden. Just the gentle rhythm of evening. The farmer steps into the narrow path between the homes. The ground here is firm, shaped by many years of walking. The air feels slightly cooler in the shade, the walls holding back the last of the day's warmth. He reaches his home. It stands as it always has. Simple. Still. The doorway is open, allowing the fading light to slip inside. He pauses for a moment at the entrance, not out of hesitation, but out of habit. A small, quiet pause between the outside world and the inside. Then he steps in. The interior is dim. The light from the doorway stretches across the floor, fading softly as it reaches the far wall. The air inside is cooler, carrying a faint scent of clay and dust. He sets his tool down carefully. It rests against the wall, ready for the next day. Always ready. There is little else to arrange. Little else to do. He lowers himself to sit. The ground beneath him feels firm, familiar. His body settles slowly, releasing the tension held through the long hours of work. His shoulders drop slightly. His hands rest quietly in his lap. For a moment, he does nothing. The stillness is complete. Outside, the village continues its quiet life. The soft murmur of voices drifts through the doorway. Somewhere nearby, a small fire crackles gently. The scent of simple food begins to move through the air. The farmer listens. Not actively. Just quietly aware. After some time, he reaches for a small clay bowl. Inside, there is food prepared simply. Grains. Perhaps a few vegetables. Nothing elaborate. Nothing rich. but it is enough. He eats slowly. Each movement unhurried. Each bite taken without thought. The act itself is familiar, repeated each evening in the same quiet way. The food is warm. It brings a small comfort. Not excitement. Just steadiness. Outside, the light continues to fade. The golden glow softens into deeper shades. The sky begins to shift, slowly, into evening. The first hint of darkness gathers along the edges of the horizon. The farmer finishes his meal. He sets the bowl aside. There is no rush to stand. No immediate task waiting for him. The work of the day has ended. What remains is only rest. He leans back slightly. His body feels heavy now. Not with strain, but with exhaustion that has settled fully into him. It is a quiet kind of tiredness, one that does not demand attention, but simply exists. Outside, the sounds grow softer. Voices lower. Movements slow. The village begins to settle, just as the fields did before it. The farmer closes his eyes for a moment. Not to sleep yet. Just to rest. The darkness behind his eyelids feels calm, steady, and deep. Time passes gently. The air cools a little more. The last light fades completely from the doorway, leaving only the dim glow of evening. Soon, the night will arrive. And with it, a deeper quiet. The farmer remains still, breathing slowly, letting the long day drift away from him, piece by piece. Until only the soft rhythm of rest remains, the evening deepens. The last traces of light fade from the sky, leaving behind a soft, growing darkness. It does not arrive all at once. It settles slowly, like a quiet blanket laid gently over the land. Inside the home, the farmer remains still. His breathing is slow and even. The weight of the day rests fully upon him now, no longer carried through movement, but settled into his bones. Outside, the village grows quieter. The low sounds of voices begin to disappear, one by one. A door closes softly. Footsteps fade into stillness. The small fires burn lower, their faint glow flickering against the walls before dimming. The air cools further. It moves gently through the open doorway, brushing against the farmer's skin with a calm, steady touch. It carries the scent of earth, of ash, of distant water. Far away, the river continues its endless flow. Its sound is faint, almost lost in the quiet of the night, but it is there. Always there. A constant presence, even when unseen. The farmer opens his eyes briefly. The darkness inside his home is soft, not complete. Shapes are still visible, though blurred and quiet. The familiar outlines of the walls, the jar, the place where his tool rests. Everything is as it should be. There is comfort in that. He shifts slightly. His body settles more fully into rest. The stiffness of the day remains, but it no longer demands effort. It simply exists, part of the quiet stillness. He reaches for the mat laid out on the floor. It is simple, worn from use, but it offers enough comfort. He lowers himself onto it slowly, his movements unhurried, guided by the need for rest rather than any sense of urgency. Once lying down, he adjusts slightly. A small movement of the shoulder. A shift of the legs. Then stillness again. Outside, the night continues to grow. The sky above the village is now dark, though not empty. Slowly, quietly, the stars begin to appear. One by one, faint at first, then clearer as the darkness deepens. They spread across the sky without sound. Without motion that can be seen. Just present. A soft, distant light. The farmer's eyes close once more. This time, they remain closed. His breathing becomes slower. Deeper. Each breath rises and falls in a gentle rhythm, not unlike the steady work of the day, but softer now, free of effort. The sounds around him fade further. The village is nearly silent. Only the smallest noises remain. The faint crackle of a dying ember. The soft movement of air. Perhaps the distant call of a night bird, brief and quickly gone. Time moves differently now. It is no longer measured by work or light, but by rest. By the slow passage of moments that do not need to be counted. The farmer drifts closer to sleep. There are no long thoughts. No reflections. Only a quiet fading. The body releases what it has carried. The mind follows. Outside, the land rests. The fields lie still beneath the night sky. The soil, turned and shaped during the day, now cools in the darkness. The water in the channels moves quietly, reflecting faint traces of starlight. Everything pauses. Not completely. But enough. Enough to begin again tomorrow. The river continues its steady journey. Unchanged. Unhurried. It flows through the night as it does through the day, carrying with it the promise of another cycle, another rising sun, another long stretch of work. But for now, there is only stillness. The farmer sleeps. His breathing soft. His body at rest. The quiet of the night surrounds him, holding him gently, as the hours pass without sound. And slowly, almost without notice, the world waits for the first hint of dawn to return once more. The night passes quietly. There is no clear moment when it ends. No sudden shift. Only a gradual softening of the darkness, as the sky begins to lighten once more. Far in the distance, the first hint of dawn appears. A pale gray stretches slowly across the horizon, pushing gently against the deep blue of the night. The stars begin to fade, one by one, their light growing softer until they disappear completely. The air is cool again. Fresh in a quiet, simple way. It moves lightly through the village, carrying the faint scent of damp earth and still water. Inside the home, the farmer stirs. Not suddenly. Not with urgency. His sleep loosens slowly, like a knot gently untied. His breathing shifts, becoming a little more aware, a little more present. He remains still for a moment. Between sleep and waking. In that quiet space where nothing is required yet. Outside, the first sounds of morning begin to return. A distant bird calls. Soft. Clear. Then silence again. Another sound follows, somewhere farther away. The slow movement of someone rising. The faint scrape of a door. Small signs that the day is beginning once more. The farmer opens his eyes. The light inside the room is dim, but growing. The doorway frames a pale sky, still soft, not yet touched by the full brightness of the sun. He lies still a moment longer. His body feels rested, but not fully renewed. The deep tiredness of the previous day has softened, but it has not disappeared. It lingers quietly, waiting beneath the surface. This is familiar. This is expected. He sits up slowly. His movements are careful, steady. There is no rush. The day will come whether he moves quickly or not. The ground beneath him is cool again. The air feels gentle. He stands. For a moment, he stretches slightly, not as a deliberate act, but as a natural response of the body. A small release of stiffness. A quiet preparation for what is to come. He steps outside. The village is waking. Not all at once, but slowly, just as before. A door opens nearby. Someone steps out into the early light. Another figure moves along the narrow path, carrying something small in their hands. The world is quiet, but not empty. The sky begins to change. A faint line of gold appears along the horizon, growing slowly brighter. The river reflects it, turning from gray to a soft shimmer once more. The cycle continues. Always the same. Always new. The farmer takes a breath. The air fills his chest easily. It is cooler now, lighter than it will be later. For a brief moment, the day feels gentle, almost forgiving. But he knows what it will become. He begins to walk. The path to the fields lies ahead, just as it did yesterday. Worn into the earth by countless steps, it guides him without thought. Each step is familiar. Each movement expected. The ground feels slightly damp in places, holding the memory of the night's coolness. Small stones press lightly against his feet, just as they always have. The sky brightens further. The gold spreads slowly, touching the tops of the fields, the edges of the homes, the surface of the river. Shadows stretch long and soft across the land. The farmer reaches the edge of his field. It waits for him. Unchanged in its quiet way, yet always ready for more work. The soil he turned the day before rests in soft lines, slightly settled now, but still prepared. There is no pause this time. No long moment of stillness. He steps forward. He picks up his tool. And once again, he begins. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm returns immediately. As if it had never left. Around him, others arrive. One by one. Taking their places. Beginning their own quiet patterns of work. The morning air remains cool for now. The light is still soft. But already, the day is unfolding in the same steady way. The same motions. The same effort. The same long path stretching ahead. The farmer does not resist it. He does not question it. He simply moves with it. As he always has. As he always will. And the new day begins, just as the last one ended. With quiet work. And the slow passing of time beneath an endless sky, the early light spreads gently across the land. It settles over the fields, touching each small ridge of soil, each narrow path shaped by many footsteps. The coolness of dawn still lingers, though it is already beginning to fade. The farmer continues his work. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm has returned fully now, as steady as it was the day before. His hands move with quiet certainty. The tool meets the soil, and the soil gives way, slowly, patiently. There is no hesitation. No need to relearn. The body remembers. Around him, the fields fill once again with the soft presence of others. Each person moves in their own space, yet all are bound by the same quiet purpose. A man further down the field bends low, guiding water along a shallow channel. A woman moves carefully between rows, her hands adjusting the soil near the roots of small plants. The child from yesterday stands nearby again, watching closely, his eyes following every motion. No one speaks much. The morning does not ask for words. It moves forward on its own. The farmer's breathing is calm. Each breath matches the pace of his work. The air still feels light, though it carries the promise of warmth to come. The sun rises steadily, lifting itself higher into the sky. The shadows begin to shorten. The light grows stronger. Still, the morning remains gentle for now. A bird lands near the edge of the field. It hops lightly across the ground, pecking at something unseen. Its movements are quick, small, precise. After a moment, it lifts its wings and rises again, disappearing into the widening sky. The farmer does not look up. His focus stays close. Always on the ground before him. The soil is slightly different today. In some places, it is softer from the water guided through it. In others, it has settled overnight, requiring a little more effort to break apart. He adjusts without thinking. Each motion changes just enough to meet what is needed. This is how the work continues. Not through force, but through quiet understanding. The river glimmers in the distance. Its surface reflects the growing light, moving in slow patterns that never quite repeat. Though it is far, its presence feels close. Everything here depends on it. The farmer knows this in the same quiet way he knows the feel of the soil, the weight of his tool, the rhythm of his breath. He does not speak of it. He simply works within it. Time passes gently. The morning stretches, unfolding in small, steady moments. The sun climbs higher. The cool air begins to warm. The soft stillness shifts into something more active, though still calm. The farmer pauses briefly. He straightens his back, just enough to ease the steady pull in his muscles. His eyes move across the field, not searching, not measuring, just observing. The work is progressing. Slowly. Always slowly. He bends again. The tool returns to the soil. Lift. Press. Pull. The repetition continues. Nearby, the child takes a small step closer. This time, he reaches for a simple stick lying on the ground. He presses it into the soil, imitating the motion he has seen. The movement is uneven, uncertain, but careful. The farmer notices. He does not stop. But there is a quiet awareness, a small recognition of what is beginning. Learning does not come all at once. It grows, slowly, like everything else here. The morning continues. The light grows brighter. The warmth begins to settle into the air, though it is still gentle compared to what will come later. The breeze moves lightly across the fields, carrying with it the faint scent of water and growing plants. The farmer's hands continue their steady work. The soil shifts. The lines deepen. The field changes, piece by piece. There is no single moment when the work feels complete. Only the quiet sense that something has been done, and more remains. The sun rises higher still. The shadows shorten further. The coolness fades. The day begins to take on the familiar weight of effort. But for now, the rhythm continues. Calm. Unbroken. The farmer moves through it without resistance. Without hurry. Without pause. As the long day begins once again, just as it always does, the sun climbs higher into the sky. Its light grows stronger, slowly shifting the world from soft morning calm into the fuller brightness of day. The fields begin to glow under its warmth, each blade of plant life, each line of turned soil, now clearly visible. The farmer continues working. The rhythm has settled deeply now, not just in his hands, but in his entire body. It is no longer something he follows. It is something he becomes. Lift. Press. Pull. Each motion blends into the next without pause. The soil responds in the same familiar way it always does. It breaks apart, it shifts, it yields under steady pressure. There is nothing sudden in it. Nothing unpredictable. Everything is slow. Everything is familiar. Around him, the village fields are fully awake now. The earlier quiet has softened into a steady presence of labor. The sound of tools moving through soil rises and falls in gentle waves across the land. Oxen pull slowly along long rows, guided by patient hands. Water channels are checked and adjusted, their flow carefully maintained. It is not loud, but it is constant. The farmer pauses briefly again. This pause is shorter than before. Only enough to straighten his back, to let his shoulders release some of their tension. The ache is always there now, a quiet companion to the work. He does not focus on it. He simply acknowledges it in the way the body acknowledges anything that repeats long enough to become normal. Then he continues. The sun moves higher still. The light becomes more direct, more present. Shadows shrink closer to the ground. The air begins to warm again, slowly but steadily, as the morning begins to give way fully to the day. The farmer's hands are slightly damp now. Not from rain. There is none. But from the growing heat, from the effort, from the steady movement that never truly stops. He adjusts his grip on the tool. A small change. Just enough to continue comfortably. Nearby, the child still watches. Now he is no longer only observing. He moves a little more confidently, repeating the motions with more intention. The stick presses into the soil again and again, learning through repetition. There is no instruction given. Only presence. Only example. The farmer glances once more. Then returns to the ground. The work does not change. The day does not change. Only the light, slowly shifting. The river in the distance remains steady, reflecting the growing brightness. It does not hurry. It does not pause. It simply moves forward, as it always has. The fields depend on it. The farmer depends on it. But he does not think of dependence in words. He feels it in the rhythm of each day. In the soil beneath his hands. In the cycles that never break. Time continues its slow movement. The morning is nearly gone now, though nothing announces its end. There is no clear boundary between morning and midday. Only a gradual thickening of heat, a slow sharpening of light. The farmer notices it in his breath. Slightly deeper now. Slightly heavier. Still steady. Still controlled. He works along a narrow section of the field, moving step by step, shaping the soil in small, careful lines. Each section blends into the next, as if the land itself is guiding the movement. There is no need to think ahead. Only to continue. Lift. Press. Pull. Again. And again. The world remains quiet in its own way. Not silent. Not still. But steady. Always steady. A distant bird calls once, then fades. A breeze passes briefly, then disappears. The sun rises higher still. And the long stretch of the day deepens, carrying the farmer forward with it, as it always does, without question, without pause, without end. The sun now sits high again. Not as sharp as it was at its peak in the previous hours, but still strong, still present, still pressing its warmth across the fields. The light has fully claimed the land. The farmer keeps working. By now, the rhythm feels less like something he chooses and more like something he simply exists inside of. The motions are no longer separate actions. They are part of a single, continuous flow. Lift. Press. Pull. The same movements. The same soil. The same quiet passage of time. The field he is working on has changed since morning. The lines of turned earth are more defined now, more complete in certain sections. Some parts look ready, while others still wait for attention. Nothing is finished all at once. Everything comes in pieces. The farmer moves along the edge of a row. His steps are slow but steady. The ground beneath him is slightly uneven, shaped by both work and water over time. Each step is familiar, almost memorized. His hands tighten briefly around the tool. Then relax again. The weight is no longer something he notices clearly. It has become part of him, like the feeling of standing or breathing. The air is warmer now. It carries the full presence of midday heat returning once more, though not as harsh as earlier. It settles gently on the skin, making movement feel slightly heavier. But still, he continues. Nearby, others are still at work. Some have shifted to different tasks, checking water channels, adjusting soil edges, tending small sections that require more care. The work never becomes a single thing. It moves between small responsibilities, each one necessary, each one quiet. The child has moved a little closer to the farmer's field now. He no longer only watches from a distance. He walks along the edge, repeating small movements, pressing his stick into the soil, then lifting it again. There is no hurry in him. Only imitation. Only learning. The farmer notices, but says nothing. There is no need for words. The pattern of work carries its own instruction. The sun begins, again, its slow journey downward from its highest point. It is not obvious at first. Only a slight change in the angle of light. A softening at the edges of brightness. But it is there. Always there. The farmer pauses briefly. He straightens, letting his body release some of the tension gathered through hours of repetition. His gaze moves across the field again, taking in what has changed since earlier in the day. The land is quieter now in its appearance. More settled. More shaped. He exhales slowly. Then bends again. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm resumes without interruption. The soil responds in the same familiar way. It breaks. It shifts. It forms. Each movement leaving behind a small, almost invisible change that will matter later. Time continues without clear markers. Only the light shifting. Only the body remembering. Only the work unfolding. The river remains distant but constant. It reflects the sky without effort, carrying the same slow motion it always has. It does not change with the farmer's work, but it makes the work possible. This understanding sits quietly in the background of everything. Not spoken. Not analyzed. Just known. The farmer moves deeper into another section of the field. His pace remains steady, though slightly slower than earlier. The accumulation of hours rests within his body now, making each motion feel more grounded, more deliberate. But he does not stop. There is no reason to. The day is still present. Still open. Still requiring attention. A faint breeze moves across the field again. Short. Gentle. It passes over the skin and fades quickly, leaving behind only the warmth of the sun and the quiet sound of movement. The farmer continues. Lift. Press. Pull. Again. And again. And again. The repetition does not feel endless. It feels simply present. Like water flowing. Like breath moving. Like time itself unfolding without resistance. The sun shifts a little lower. And the long day continues its slow, steady descent toward evening. The afternoon begins to soften. It is not a sudden change, but a quiet easing in the light. The sun, still high, no longer feels as sharp as before. Its presence spreads more gently across the fields, as if it is slowly letting go of its strongest hold on the land. The farmer continues his work. By now, his movements have taken on a deeper weight. Not slower in a forced way, but steadier, more grounded. The body has adjusted to the long hours. It knows how to continue without resistance. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm remains unchanged. The soil beneath his hands feels slightly different again. Some areas are dry on the surface but still soft underneath. Others hold the faint memory of water from earlier adjustments. The texture shifts subtly from place to place. He responds without thought. Each movement shaped by what is felt rather than what is seen. Around him, the fields are filled with the same quiet persistence. People continue their work, each within their own small stretch of land. The sound of tools has become part of the air itself now, no longer noticed as something separate, but simply present. The village does not feel busy. It feels continuous. Like a single, long breath held across many hours. The farmer pauses again. A longer pause this time. He leans slightly on his tool, letting his weight rest through his arms. His gaze lowers to the soil at his feet. The ground here is more even now than it was in the morning. Prepared. Shaped. Not finished, but changed. He exhales slowly. There is no relief, exactly. Only a quiet acknowledgement that the day is moving forward. The child nearby has become more confident in his movements. The stick presses into the soil with a more steady rhythm now. Less imitation, more understanding. Still imperfect, but growing. The farmer notices this briefly. Then returns to the field. The sun begins its slow descent once more. This shift is subtle at first, almost unnoticeable. But the angle of light begins to change. Shadows, once small and close, begin to stretch again across the ground. The heat loosens slightly. Not disappearing, but easing. The farmer feels it in his breathing. A little lighter. A little less heavy. He continues working. Lift. Press. Pull. The field responds as it always does. The soil breaks into familiar patterns under repeated motion. Lines form. Sections deepen. The land gradually changes shape under patient effort. There is no rush to complete anything. Only the steady continuation of what has already begun. Time moves without clear edges. The afternoon does not announce itself as ending. It simply shifts. One moment becoming the next without interruption. The farmer's body carries the full weight of the day now. Not in pain. Not in strain. But in a quiet, constant presence of effort that has lasted too long to be forgotten. Still, he continues. Because there is still light. Because there is still work. Because stopping has its own moment, and it has not yet arrived. A breeze passes again. This one slightly cooler than before. It moves through the fields gently, touching the skin, stirring the surface of the soil lightly before fading. The farmer pauses for a breath. Then resumes. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm carries him forward once more. The sun lowers a little more. And the long day begins its slow movement toward evening, where work will soften, and rest will eventually return again. Just as it always does, the light changes again. It is still bright, but no longer sharp. The edges of the day begin to soften in a way that is almost invisible at first. The sun, slowly lowering, paints the fields in a warmer, quieter tone. The farmer keeps working. His movements are steady now in a deeper sense. Not just repetition, but endurance. The kind of endurance that does not call attention to itself. It simply continues. Lift. Press. Pull. The soil responds without resistance. It has been shaped through hours of attention, and now it moves more easily beneath each motion. The field feels different than it did in the morning. Not finished, but changed. The farmer pauses briefly again. This pause is shorter than the last, but it carries a different feeling. Less about rest, more about awareness. He looks across the section he has been working on for some time. The lines are more complete now. The structure of the field is clearer. Still imperfect, still in progress, but closer to a state of readiness than before. He lowers his gaze again. And continues. Around him, the village is in its late rhythm of the day. The earlier steady motion of labor has softened slightly. Some people move more slowly now, their tasks shifting toward finishing rather than beginning. Others check water channels once more, ensuring nothing has changed unexpectedly. Everything is in transition. Not ending. Not starting. Just moving. The child has now stepped a little farther into the field's edge. His movements are less uncertain. The stick presses into the soil with more rhythm, more intention. Still not aligned with the farmer's precision, but closer than before. Learning continues quietly. Without instruction. Without interruption. The farmer notices this again, briefly, in passing. Then returns fully to the ground. The sun lowers further. Shadows lengthen more noticeably now, stretching across the fields in slow, graceful lines. The heat begins to ease again, replaced by a softer warmth that sits lightly on the air. The farmer feels it. Not as relief, but as change. The day is moving forward. Always forward. He adjusts his stance slightly. A small shift in posture to ease the strain in his lower back. His shoulders remain heavy, but stable. The repetition of hours has settled into him in a way that no longer feels new. Only familiar. Only present. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm continues. The soil has become more consistent in texture now, shaped by repeated passes. Some sections are nearly complete in preparation. Others still require attention, but the overall structure is clear. Time passes without clear markers. Only the changing light shows it moving. The farmer does not think about how much remains. He does not measure the end. He simply continues where he stands. A faint breeze moves through again. This time slightly cooler than before. It carries the faint scent of water and distant plants, moving across the fields in a brief, gentle wave. Then it fades. The farmer breathes slowly. His hands remain steady. Lift. Press. Pull. Again. And again. The sun moves lower still. The sky begins to shift subtly, preparing for the approach of evening. The brightness softens further, and the world begins to feel quieter, even before the sounds change. The farmer continues. Not because he must think about continuing, but because stopping has not yet arrived. And so the long, steady rhythm of the day carries forward, step by step, toward the slow release of evening light. The sun lowers further now. Its light stretches long across the fields, no longer standing overhead, but leaning gently toward the horizon. The warmth it carries is softer, no longer pressing down with the same weight as before. The farmer continues working. But something in the rhythm has changed again. Not in the movement itself. Still lift. Still press. Still pull. But in the feeling behind it. There is a sense now that the day is no longer expanding forward. It is narrowing, slowly gathering itself toward an ending that is still distant, but no longer far away. The farmer feels this in small ways. In the easing of heat. In the lengthening of shadows. In the way his body seems to settle deeper into each motion, no longer pushing forward with the same early energy, but maintaining instead. The field he works in is now more fully shaped. The soil lies in consistent lines, softened and structured by repeated effort. The work is not finished, but it is clearly closer to completion than it was at dawn. He pauses. A longer pause this time. He stands still, resting both hands lightly on the handle of his tool. His eyes move slowly across the land in front of him. There is a quiet satisfaction in the view. Not joy. Not celebration. Just recognition. This part of the field has taken form through the steady passage of hours. It reflects the day itself, slow, repetitive, patient. He exhales. The air feels cooler now as it moves in and out of his lungs. The afternoon is slipping toward evening. Around him, others are beginning the same slow transition. Movements become less about creation and more about completion. Edges are checked. Tools are lifted and carried rather than actively used. Small adjustments replace longer effort. The work is not stopping yet. But it is winding down. The child near the field has slowed as well. His earlier repetition has become more tired now, less frequent. The stick still presses into the soil, but with less energy than before. He watches the farmer again, then looks down at his own hands. The farmer notices briefly. Then returns his attention to the land. The sun continues to descend. Its color deepens slightly, shifting from bright gold into a warmer tone that touches everything more softly. The fields begin to glow in a quieter way, as if holding onto the last of the day's light. Shadows grow longer again. They stretch across the soil in wide, slow lines, marking the passage of time more clearly now than at any point earlier in the day. The farmer resumes his work. Lift. Press. Pull. But the rhythm is gentler now. Less about shaping. More about finishing what has already been shaped. The soil no longer resists as strongly. It has been worked enough times that each motion feels smoother, more familiar, almost final in certain areas. Time moves without interruption. Only the shifting light gives it shape. The farmer's body feels the full length of the day now. Not sharply. Not painfully. But as a deep, steady presence that has been with him since morning and has never fully left. Still, he continues. Because there is still light. Because there is still ground in front of him. Because the end of the day has not yet fully arrived. A breeze passes again. Softer now. It carries with it the first true feeling of evening, cooler, quieter, less carrying of heat. It moves through the fields gently, then fades. The farmer straightens slowly. His hands remain on the tool, but his posture is more relaxed now. The urgency of earlier hours has dissolved completely. Only continuation remains. Lift. Press. Pull. Again. And again. The sun edges closer to the horizon. The fields are now fully bathed in the soft tones of late daylight. And the long cycle of work begins its final approach toward rest, not yet finished, but no longer far from ending. The light of the day begins to soften in a deeper way now. It is no longer just warm. It is gentle. The brightness that once filled the fields has slowly thinned, leaving behind a calmer glow that stretches across the land. The farmer continues working. But his pace has changed again, almost without him noticing. Each movement is more measured now, less about shaping the earth and more about bringing the day's work to its natural close. Lift. Press. Pull. The rhythm is still there. But it no longer feels endless in the same way. There is a quiet awareness growing in the background of everything, that the day is slowly reaching its final shape. The soil beneath his hands has become familiar in every sense now. He knows its texture without needing to look closely. He knows how it will respond before the tool even touches it. Everything feels known. Everything feels repeated. The farmer pauses again. This pause is different. Longer. Still. He stands with his tool resting lightly against the ground, no longer actively working, simply observing what has been done. The field before him is quieter now in appearance. The structure of the soil is clearly formed. The sections he has worked throughout the day are visible in their arrangement, shaped by countless small motions. It does not feel complete. But it feels settled. He breathes in slowly. The air is cooler than before, carrying the first real presence of evening. The heat of the day is no longer dominant. It lingers only in memory, in the warmth still held within the soil. Around him, others are in similar states. Work continues, but only in smaller ways now. Finishing touches. Final adjustments. Slow movements that no longer carry the same weight as the earlier hours. The village is preparing, without needing to announce it. The child near the field has stopped moving entirely for a moment. He stands still, watching the farmer again. There is no longer imitation. Only observation. The rhythm of work has slowed enough that even watching becomes part of the quiet ending of the day. The farmer notices. Then looks away. The sun lowers further. Its position now clearly near the horizon. The sky begins to shift in color, moving from bright gold into deeper tones, warm amber, soft orange, and a fading light that spreads gently over everything it touches. Shadows stretch long across the fields. They no longer feel like absence of light. They feel like part of the landscape itself. The farmer resumes briefly. Not with the same intensity as before. Lift. Press. Pull. A few final movements. Each one smaller than the last. Each one more deliberate, as if carefully placing the final marks on a long, quiet pattern. The soil responds easily now. Almost too easily. As if it too is ready to rest. Time feels slower in this moment, though it is moving just as it always has. The difference is not in time itself, but in how it is felt. The farmer senses this shift in his body. The deep fatigue of the day has settled fully now, but it is no longer growing. It has become stable, familiar. Something that will remain until rest takes it away. He stops again. This time, he does not return immediately to work. He simply stands, looking across the field. The land is quiet in a way that feels different from earlier in the day. Not empty, not still, but complete in its own slow formation. The sun touches the edge of the horizon now. Its light stretches one final time across the fields, long and soft, as if reluctant to leave. The farmer remains still. The work of the day is nearly finished. Not because everything is perfect, but because the light will not remain much longer. And so, slowly, the rhythm of labor begins to release its hold. Lift, press, pull. The last repetitions fade into the evening air. And the long day begins to settle into its final quiet. The sun touches the horizon now. Not suddenly, but with a slow, quiet settling, as if it is resting itself against the edge of the world. The light changes in that moment, becoming softer, deeper, almost heavier in its warmth. The farmer stands still. The tool rests lightly in his hand, no longer used, no longer needed for the moment. The final movements of work have faded into silence. There is nothing more to press into the soil today. The field before him is calm. It carries the full shape of the day's effort. Rows of turned earth, softened edges, carefully guided channels. Nothing dramatic. Nothing finished in a final sense. But complete in the way that today can be complete. He breathes in slowly. The air is different now. Cooler. Softer. Carrying the first true feeling of evening. Around him, others have fully slowed. Some stand quietly, tools resting against shoulders. Others begin to walk away from their fields, leaving behind the place where the day unfolded. The movement across the land is no longer active labor, but gentle departure. No one speaks loudly. There is no need for words at this time of day. Everything is understood in silence. The farmer begins to walk. Not quickly. Not with urgency. Just steadily, following the familiar path that leads back toward the village. Each step feels slightly lighter than before, though his body still carries the deep weight of the day. That weight does not disappear. It simply shifts, becoming part of the background as movement slows. The sky changes again. The sun is now half hidden beneath the horizon. Its light spreads outward in wide, glowing layers, painting the fields in deep orange and soft gold. The river reflects this light in long, broken streaks that ripple gently across its surface. The world feels wider in this moment. And quieter. The farmer passes others on the path. Some walk alone. Some in pairs. All moving in the same direction, all returning from the fields that shaped their day. No one hurries. There is no reason to. The village appears ahead once more. Small shapes of homes, softened by the fading light. Thin lines of smoke rise gently into the evening sky, marking the beginning of rest, of food, of quiet return. The farmer enters the village path. The ground here is familiar beneath his feet, worn smooth by countless days of the same journey. His steps follow it without thought. His tool rests against his shoulder. He does not feel its weight as sharply now. It is simply there, like a companion that has shared the same long hours. As he moves deeper into the village, the sounds begin to return softly. Not loud. Not sudden. Just present again in a new way. A door opening. A low voice speaking. The faint crackle of fire. The sound of water being poured into a vessel. Evening is arriving everywhere. The farmer reaches his home. The doorway is open, just as it was in the morning, but now framed by the deep colors of sunset behind him. He pauses briefly. A quiet habit. A transition between the field and the stillness inside. Then he steps in. The interior is dim, filled with the soft remains of daylight slipping through cracks in the walls. The air inside is cooler, resting after the heat of the day. He sets his tool down. It leans carefully against the wall once again. Always the same place. Always ready for tomorrow. He sits slowly. The movement is unhurried, guided only by the need to rest. His body lowers into stillness, and the long tension of the day begins to release in small, quiet ways. Outside, the sun finally sinks below the horizon. The last light spreads gently across the sky, then fades into deeper tones. Evening has fully arrived. The farmer remains still, listening to the quiet world outside, feeling the day settle into memory, and allowing the slow return of rest to take its place. The last light of the day fades slowly from the sky. It does not disappear all at once. It lingers in soft layers along the horizon, stretching thin and quiet, until even those gentle colors begin to dissolve into deeper blue. Inside the home, the farmer sits in stillness. His body is heavy now, not with strain, but with the full weight of a day completed. It rests in him quietly, like a settled stone that no longer needs to be carried. Outside, the village moves in low, simple rhythms. A faint glow from small fires begins to spread between the homes. Shadows deepen along the narrow paths. Voices are soft, almost blending into the evening air rather than standing apart from it. Everything slows. Everything softens. The farmer exhales slowly. The breath feels deeper now, less shaped by effort, more shaped by release. The long hours in the field are no longer active in his body, but they remain present in memory and sensation. He does not speak. There is nothing to say. The room around him is quiet. Familiar objects rest in their places, unchanged. The walls hold the day's warmth in a fading way, gradually cooling as night approaches. He leans back slightly. Not fully lying down yet. Just easing into stillness. Outside, the river continues its steady movement beyond the village. It reflects what little light remains in the sky, though that light is fading quickly now. Its flow is uninterrupted, unchanged by the end of the day. The farmer listens to nothing in particular. Just the absence of urgency. That is what evening becomes here. An absence. A soft, natural pause between one day and the next. Time no longer feels divided into tasks. There is no field to tend, no soil to turn, no water to guide. The world has narrowed into simple presence. Breathing. Resting. Being still. A small sound passes outside. A door closing gently. Then silence again. The farmer shifts slightly onto the mat. His body settles more fully now, releasing the last traces of tension held through long repetition. His arms feel lighter. His shoulders drop into rest without resistance. The night deepens further. The sky outside has fully turned dark now, though not empty. Faint points of light begin to appear above, scattered gently across the wide expanse. The stars return. Quiet. Distant. Unmoving from where he stands, but slowly revealing themselves as darkness deepens. Inside, the farmer's eyes remain open for a while longer. Not focused on anything. Just resting in the dimness. There is no need to watch the sky. No need to measure the night. Only the presence of it. The world outside continues its soft rhythm. Fires burn low. Conversations fade. The village settles into sleep little by little, as it always does. The farmer finally lowers himself fully. His body meets the mat completely now. Stillness surrounds him. The sound of his breathing becomes the clearest thing in the room, steady and slow, gradually becoming deeper as rest takes hold. The long cycle of the day has ended. Not with a moment of finality, but with quiet fading. The fields remain behind him, resting under the night sky. The river continues its endless flow. The village sleeps in small, warm pockets of light. And the farmer, like everything else, settles into stillness. Breathing. Resting. Waiting for the slow return of morning. The night settles more fully now. What was once a soft darkness becomes deeper, steadier, more complete. The stars above feel clearer, as if the sky has finally opened itself without hesitation. Inside the small home, the farmer sleeps. His breathing is slow and even, no longer shaped by effort or movement. The body that carried the long hours of labor now rests completely, held in stillness. Outside, the village is quiet. Fires have dimmed to faint embers. The warm glow that once moved between the homes is now only a few scattered points of light, fading gradually into darkness. The wind moves lightly through the narrow paths. It does not disturb anything. It only passes through. The fields beyond the village are still. They rest under the night sky, their surfaces cooled after the long heat of the day. The soil holds the memory of work, of water, of careful shaping. But now it does nothing. It simply exists. The river continues its slow journey in the distance. It is the same as it was during the day, though now it reflects only faint traces of starlight instead of the sun. Its movement is quiet, uninterrupted, unchanged. Time passes without marking itself clearly. There are no tasks dividing the night. No movements shaping its flow. Only stillness stretching forward, hour by hour, without demand. Inside the home, the farmer shifts slightly in his sleep. A small movement. Then stillness again. The body adjusts itself naturally, finding comfort without awareness. The exhaustion of the day remains, but it no longer presses. It has become part of rest. The village breathes as one quiet presence. Not literally, but in the shared stillness of sleep, of pause, of absence of movement. Everything has slowed. Everything has softened. The night deepens further. The sky grows darker still, though the stars remain, scattered gently across the wide expanse above. They do not move quickly. They do not change. They simply are. The farmer's sleep continues. Deep. Steady. Unbroken. There are no dreams that interrupt the sense of calm here. Only the quiet continuation of rest, shaped by the long repetition of days before it. The body prepares, unknowingly, for another cycle. Another morning. Another return to the fields. But for now, there is no anticipation. No thought of what comes next. Only stillness. Outside, the air cools slightly more as the night reaches its quietest point. The land rests fully beneath it, as if holding its breath without needing to breathe. The river flows on. The fields remain still. The village sleeps. And the farmer, like all things within this slow rhythm of life, remains in quiet rest, waiting gently for the first soft hint of dawn that will one day return again. The night holds steady now. There is a kind of fullness in it, as if everything that needed to happen during the day has already settled into place, and nothing remains except quiet continuation. The sky above the village is dark and wide. Stars remain scattered across it, small and distant, unchanged in their silent presence. They do not move in any way that can be seen. They simply stay, patient and still. Inside the home, the farmer sleeps on. His breathing is soft and unbroken. Each inhale and exhale carries the same calm rhythm, one that mirrors the steady patterns of the life he lives during the day, but without effort, without weight. His body rests deeply now. Muscles that carried hours of labor have released their tension. The fatigue of repetition has dissolved into stillness. There is nothing left for the body to do except remain. Outside, the village is almost completely silent. Only the faintest traces of life remain visible in small, quiet ways. A distant shifting of air. A soft creak from wood adjusting to the night's coolness. The subtle presence of life that continues even when motion has stopped. The fields beyond the homes lie in complete rest. They are dark now, barely visible except for faint outlines against the night sky. The soil that was turned, shaped, and guided during the day now rests undisturbed. It holds everything that was done to it, quietly, without reaction. The river continues its slow passage. It is the only movement that does not pause. Even now, in the deepest part of night, it flows forward in the same steady way it always has. It reflects nothing more than faint starlight, broken gently across its surface. Time passes without structure. There are no changes in light to measure it. No sounds to divide it. Only the ongoing presence of night, stretching across the land without interruption. Inside the home, the farmer shifts once more in his sleep. A small adjustment. Then stillness again. His rest is deep enough now that even the awareness of movement fades quickly. The body does not hold on to anything. It simply returns to stillness each time. The village remains unchanged in its quiet state. Homes rest close together, their shapes blending softly into the darkness. Each one holds its own quiet world of sleep, of breathing, of pause. The air feels cooler now. Not cold. Just gently cooled by the absence of the sun. It moves across the land in soft currents, touching everything equally, without urgency or direction. The night is not empty. It is full of quiet presence. Of rest that stretches across fields, river, and village alike. The farmer sleeps deeply within this stillness. There is no awareness of time passing. No awareness of the world outside. Only the continuation of rest, steady and uninterrupted. And slowly, without sound or change, the night continues forward, carrying everything within it toward the distant return of morning light.